We do not have a faith blessing this evening, so I'll invite everyone present to join us in a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you. Are there any additional items for tonight's agenda? Members of Council? Councillor Chamberlain.
Yes, I'd like to comment on a donation of 15 trees from the Grace Harbor Conservation Authority, and also comment on the success of the One World Festival held last Friday.
Sure. Anyone else? Members of staff?
Your Worship.
Oh, Councillor Lemon.
Yes, I have a couple of questions re the transit contract.
Any other members of council? Councillor Lemon, while you're on that topic, I'm just going to ask you quickly. I don't think you got my email. We have a walking tour, a historic walking tour booked for council for next week, and I wondered if you were interested in a motorized vehicle scooter for that. It'll be about an hour long.
No, I can do it by foot, no problem.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple of other items. June is Seniors Month, and, oh, you have an item. Go ahead. No, I'm just going to do mine, okay? Yeah. June 1st is Seniors Month, and I'll invite members of council and those folks that are here this evening as well to attend the Billy Bishop Museum for the Veterans Day commemoration. It's a recognition and commemoration of the 70th anniversary of D-Day, and there'll be a number of presentations and exhibits on display, as well as stories with a number of local veterans and their families. Also on June the 4th, we will have an opportunity, if you wish, to meet with myself and other members of council at the Seniors Center, the McQuay Tannery, at 10 a.m. to 11:15, and this is part of a series of Meet the Mayor and council members coffee break series that if you're able to attend, we'll be there to answer questions and have a chat. Also, I mentioned earlier on Monday, June 2nd at 6 o'clock, members of the media and council and senior staff will be going on a heritage walking tour throughout starting at City Hall and following the heritage walking tour along the brochure. So lots of things happening in the next short while. Any disclosure of pecuniary? Oh, the clerk had something, yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just would like to give notice to council that bylaws number 2014-083 and -084 are being deferred to be addressed at a later date.
Who has the bylaws? Got that?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Disclosure of pecuniary interest, please. Seeing none, confirmation of the minutes.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Adair, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on May 12, 2014, as printed, be adopted.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Public meeting.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Adair, that the minutes of the public meeting respecting zoning bylaw amendment number 13 held on May 12, 2014, as printed, be adopted.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. We're now in committee of the whole. Oh, we need a resolution to do that. Thank you. Yes.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Adair, the City Council now go into committee of the whole to consider public meetings, deputations, public question period, matters arising from correspondence, reports, matters tabled, motions for which notice was previously given, and other business.
Thank you. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now we're in committee of the whole. We do not have any public meetings scheduled. We do, however, have a deputation, and I will invite Councillor McManaman, who's the chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee, to join me at the podium. Well, good evening, and we're very happy to be here this evening, and we're grateful to see so many people come out to for a variety of issues, but this first one is really exciting, and I think everybody will agree to recognize our great volunteers that we have in this community is very special. So you're surrounded by lots of friends and a lot of appreciative fellow citizens. So we're here this evening to celebrate our volunteers. Of course, our volunteers are the backbone of not only this organization, but many organizations across our community. Volunteers are certainly people from all walks of life, all ages, and all stages. What they have in common is a real desire to make a difference in the community, and really, by creating their own energy and putting their own energy into this community, really making a difference. These individuals we are honoring tonight exemplify these traits, and as a community, we recognize their contribution to the vibrancy, diversity, and strength of our community. Our first Volunteer of the Year award is Nancy Blair. Nancy was nominated by Quota International of Owen Sound for her commitment and dedication to this organization. Nancy has been an active volunteer in the city of Owen Sound since 1962. I was 2 years old, Nancy. When you add up her service years, her total is approximately, this is quite unbelievable, 204 years of volunteer service. Yeah. Some were very long terms, others were very short terms. Her nominator, Jean Wilson, where's Jean? There she is, of 2013 Volunteer of the Year recipient, says Nancy exemplifies volunteerism. Nancy has been a very active member with Quota International and has held various executive positions, including president, vice president, and secretary. Not only has she filled these executive positions, she has also chaired many committees, including the Christmas gift wrapping, bingos, the holiday tour of homes, and actively supports all other fundraising efforts within Quota. Quota International is not the only organization to have benefited from Nancy's exceptional time and energy. Nancy has been a timer for the Owen Sound Aquatic Club, board member for the Owen Sound Minor Softball, Minor Hockey Ladies Auxiliary, volunteer at the Hannah Walker and Central Place, organized a walk fundraiser for ALS, member of the Scenic City Order of Good Cheer, volunteer with the Relay for Life, volunteers in the kitchen at Camp Quality, makes quilts and prayers for the sick in Prayers and Squares at St. Mary's Church, responsible for looking after the pledges for Owen Sound Paraplegic Association fundraisers, walked for Alzheimer's Society, and has held many positions in the Catholic Women's League, and is also a terrific OSCBI alumni. Nancy is a huge inspiration to others. If someone hesitates to take on a job, Nancy offers to coach and to help. Quota International says that Nancy has truly enhanced their organization. Nancy has embraced their organization with zest and has been a very willing and positive member of their group. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring Nancy Blair as a very deserving recipient of the city's Volunteer of the Year award. Absolutely. Absolutely.
My speech isn't very long, but I felt I needed to say a few words. Thank you very much for the Volunteer Award, and I accept this award with great honor. I wish to thank the Quota Club, who nominated me for this award, and to thank everyone that I have volunteered with over the years. I started volunteering in 1962, as you heard, as a candy striper, and have continued to volunteer for years for various groups and different organizations. I volunteer for various reasons, but I guess the main reason would be to help others. I enjoy giving back and helping those less fortunate, and being part of a wonderful community helps me to attain my goals of giving back. The amazing part about volunteering, though, is that the return is great. I have learned that there are many, many volunteers. I have enjoyed my time helping others and have made many great friends. I laugh with people of this community, share love and respect for each other, and have shared many great moments of joy. These great gifts of life I may have missed had I not volunteered. Through all those years of volunteering and all the work, my faith in humanity has soared. To watch people come together for a greater good is inspiring, and it lifts my soul. When you volunteer, you see just how much love and compassion is around you. Volunteers are people who use their time to help someone else. It confirms that people really do care and are willing to stand up and do what needs to be done. To see that much good humanity is a great gift. Thank you again for this wonderful award. I am truly honored and feel so blessed. I did not do the work alone, and I thank all the amazing people behind the scenes who are volunteers. Thank you for this recognition. I am very grateful. It has been and will continue to be my pleasure to volunteer. Thank you.
Without a doubt, this is one of the best nights in this council chamber. Our next Volunteer of the Year award recipient is Bernice Ruhl. Bernice was nominated by Paula Nile, who felt that Bernice was a deserving volunteer and should be recognized for her contributions. In 1999, Bernice's sister, Louise Ramsey, was also awarded the Volunteer of the Year award. I guess volunteering runs in your family. Yeah. Bernice taught Sunday school at the Lutheran Church for over 23 years. Bernice taught me Sunday school. Yes. And I did pay attention. She also served on the church council, helped raise money by cooking and serving dinners, making quilts, serving sandwiches at funerals and other events. Bernice is still an active member at her church, and as a church user, Bernice volunteered with the home and school, served as president twice. She volunteered at Strathcona School, helping students with their math, reading, and spelling. And I know some kids who were helped by you, and they have very, very fond memories. Very fond memories. She often volunteered as a chaperone on the school trips. We won't talk about those. For the last 17 years, Bernice has volunteered her services as hostess during the Owen Sound Attack Games. For over 15 years, Bernice has volunteered by helping with the Festival of Northern Lights committee with repairing and repainting the displays. Many, many days you will find Bernice at the festival's workshop with a paintbrush in her hand and a smile on her face. Other organizations where Bernice has volunteered include Grey Roots, where she explains to the children in the children's program what it was like to live in the olden days while serving them refreshments. Red Cross, where she knitted items for the craft show and provided transportation to those requiring service. New Year's Eve celebration and other city special events. Those that have had the privilege of knowing or volunteering with Bernice have said, I have rarely met a volunteer more dedicated and more fun to work with than Bernice Ruhl. She takes a great interest in people, and her warm greetings ensure that everyone feels welcome as soon as they arrive to volunteer. Always a smile on her face, unwavering dedication, and no complaints to be heard. Bernice has a true love of people and a generous heart. Bernice says she has found fulfillment and friendship in her community. Bernice is not only being recognized as a Volunteer of the Year, but Bernice is not aware of this. Bernice is also being recognized as Owen Sound's Senior of the Year for 2014. The Senior of the Year Award was established in 1994 to provide municipalities an annual opportunity to honor one outstanding local senior. And in a community like Owen Sound, what an incredibly tough decision it is for the committee each and every year. Recipients are individuals who, after age 65, have enriched the social, cultural, or civic life of the community without thought of personal or financial gain. The certificate is provided by the Ontario government. It is signed by the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario and the Deputy Minister responsible for seniors and myself. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me once again in honoring and recognizing Bernice Ruhl as the most deserving recipient of the city's Volunteer of the Year Award and Senior of the Year Award. Now, if you turn around, you have fans who would like to take a picture of you. Friends and fam. Thank you very much. Hold on. Okay? Was she smiling?
Nancy? Say the mayor in between went too late.
Gotta get in between the two of you. There we go. Almost lost it. For sure. Yeah.
Yes. Debbie is so full of surprises. I am just so honored to be chosen as Senior of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, and I'd like to thank Paul and Nail for nominating me. Thank you, Paul, and thank you to my family and friends for coming out tonight. I appreciate all the kind words that have been said about me. Thank you, and I sure love volunteering in a place where you want to live. I have worked with many, many wonderful volunteers over the years, and it's been so much fun. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much for not only for the Volunteer of the Year Awards, but also for the nominators and all of the groups that you're affiliated with. You're all winners. You're all great folks, and the community is so much richer for what you do. So I really thank you most sincerely, and to both of you, congratulations. Thank you.
And we can't talk. That's not an issue that we can't talk about.
I don't know that he's just, I think he's here. Okay, are there any members of the public here this evening who would like to ask a question of council? If you could just please come to the microphone, just say your name for the clerk and your address.
Thank you. My name is Bernice Ackerman, and I live at 801 3rd Avenue West in Owen Sound. And my question is for the mayor and council, and of course it's regarding the buses. And just as a preamble, on January the 22nd, I attended a meeting at the mayor's request to discuss my concerns and the concerns of others about reducing transit services and closing the bus terminal. I mentioned the idea of leasing the terminal to a business such as a coffee shop to cover the cost of maintaining it. The lessee could sell bus tickets, passes, etc., and provide a safe, warm area for people to wait for a bus as well as washroom facilities. I was told at that time by the mayor that someone had already contacted her with the offer to do just that. My question to all of you is, why was that not followed up as a community service which would have avoided all this upset for transit users, build goodwill for everyone in our community, and as I have discovered later, the first consultant that you hired did even suggest that in his first report, that the terminal could be kept open as a service like that. So my question is, why wasn't that followed up?
I'm happy to answer that, Bernice, and thank you for coming and asking the question. The gentleman that contacted us, in fact, withdrew and was no longer interested.
But council has not proceeded to ask anyone else to do that, as I understand.
That's not what's before council right at this time. Councillor Lemon?
At the public meeting which we held recently at the Bay Shore, a lady came forward at that time, I don't want to give her name on the air, and spoke to the city manager that she would be interested in offering a coffee shop. The other thing is, since we no longer have a gray coach there is additional space that could be utilized. For instance, somebody who does foot care could use one of the office spaces there. And there's parking right to the south. It's very accessible. It would be very accessible if people use transit, and they would be able to get their foot care or that type of thing done. And I think this is the kind of thing that we need to look at in a wholesome way. And I will certainly pass the name on to the mayor after this meeting, but I don't want to say her name publicly at this time. But I think the term is adaptive reuse, which they talk about for older buildings. Well, the bus terminal is not that old. It was built in 85, 86. But perhaps we could adapt that, offset a lot of the operating costs, and if we contract out the selling of bus passes and bus tickets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we would pay a small amount to the person, but that would make their business more viable. And we would also, I'm sure, sell city bag tags, things like that that could be sold there. Because you have a lot of people, I think we have something like 300,000 plus trips a year on the conventional transit. I think it's about 350, or it was. That's a lot of people going through that building. So there is an opportunity there if it was well managed. I'm not suggesting the city should get into the coffee shop business because we have no expertise with that. But private
Councillor
sector
Lemon,
do.
thank you for sharing that with us, and I'll look forward to a discussion afterwards.
And then I have just another question. I understand on the agenda this evening there is going to be a motion to look at selling the terminal. I was told that that was on the agenda for this evening.
That's correct. Yeah, that's
right.
under 12B1.
All right. I think that is very much a mistake on council's part to do that. And you're going to make it very, very difficult for people with disabilities and seniors that are living in this community to stand outside behind the Scotiabank in a shelter, three-sided shelter, in the heat and in the cold in the winter, with no facilities to keep them safe and warm to catch a bus.
Mrs. Ackerman, just,
Yes.
I'll just give you a little bit of parameters in terms of what the process is from here on.
All right, thank you.
So tonight, the decision in front of council is, it's a report from staff to declare the property surplus. What that is that's the only decision council's making tonight. So what
All right.
happens, first that, and whatever the outcome of the decision on that,
Yes.
the next step, should council determine that they would like to declare it surplus, it moves to the next step, which is when all members of the public are to come forward and to tell council why or why not, and give all of the reasons that in their views, much like you were starting to do tonight, around that decision. Then council takes all of that information, combined with all of the staff information, and at the next council meeting, so 2 more council meetings, would then be, I would certainly hope, in a position to make a decision once we have all the information.
And will that meeting be very well advertised and the public be allowed to speak?
I am telling you now, and yes,
Thank you. That's what my concern was.
thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Any other members of the public here for a question? Yes. Please, if you can, step forward.
Portable mic, do we not?
That's okay, I'm here. Yeah. Something came out of a meeting, I think it was the first meeting, combined meeting between operations and the disability group, that struck me very, it made me think a lot. During one of your discussions to the general public in both committees, there was a very plain statement that there have been 17 meetings regarding this
Right.
whole schmozzle, pardon me, but now I've been involved in this from the point where the disability committee staged their protest.
Right, sure.
And since that time, I've been very involved in it, and I cannot, for the life of me, find anywhere records of 17 meetings.
Well, I'll
And
tell you-
The question I
Sure,
have
yeah.
is, can you, or can council provide us with the exact dates and times and places of all those meetings?
Absolutely, not a problem.
Thank you.
Not a problem. I can send you the email tonight. I have it all down.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions from any member of the public?
Your worship, Mr. Martin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you make it over to the microphone, Ray? Okay. Welcome.
Good evening, thank you. Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Raymond Botten, 748 2nd Avenue East, Owen Sound. I really had a heartfelt question, which I felt to write it down. So this is not a personal attack on our councillors or our mayor, because they're very hardworking, and I appreciate each and every one in staff and in our municipal government. However, I felt to ask this question. My question tonight is council now prepared to take responsibility for our brothers and sisters who are the vulnerable on the streets of Owen Sound here? Since this morning, the Victorious Living Center has been forced by the city to shut our drop-in center, our longest-serving soup kitchen and needle exchange program. And so basically the water was shut off because of tax arrears for 6 months. But we have an ongoing issue with operational costs, which hits the newspaper quite often in the winter times. And so a Band-Aid of just putting water on, but the water, from a health standpoint, we would be breaking the law if we open the doors since the water's off. So we have very vulnerable people in our community, from those who are substance abusers to those who are lonely, disenfranchised, and really hurting, homeless. And I can't help but stand here before our council and ask, since this has taken place, I don't want, it's not a blame game. The question is, where does our responsibility go now with our friends on the street? So that's my question.
Thank you for your question. Councillor Blatty would like to respond.
Thank you, Worship. Given that I didn't know in advance what Mr. Botton's question would be, I'm declaring a pecuniary interest, and I'll leave the room.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your question, Mr. Botten. It is a very sad situation. There's no question. This council is very concerned with all members of our community. The responsibilities for various folks in our community really lies with so many different organizations, and your organization is one of them. There is certainly at this point nothing that this council can do given the certain specific circumstances around what you're here to speak to us tonight about. I would encourage you to speak with O'Share and also the United Way and also the Y Housing going forward, as well as your own circle of support. So I thank you for coming to council tonight and bringing it to our attention. Those people at home may have heard your message as well, and may well come to your assistance. However, the city's just in no position at this time to take this on in any other fashion, other than to empathize, and we do.
And I understand it was question period. It was too late to do a deputation, but I know there's more to talk, but understanding the agenda. Thank you. I appreciate your answer anyhow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care. Okay. Any other members of the public here to ask a question? Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Janice Curry. I live at 801 3rd Avenue West in Owen Sound. As you know, I am the chair of the Accessibility Advisory Committee. I'm a longtime proponent and advocate for all forms of public transportation and a consumer of that service. So my question relates to the forthcoming public meeting that will arise out of the decision that council makes to declare the terminal surplus. People on both levels of service consider the terminal and all the resources and supports it provides to be a critical part of the accessibility of the service as a whole. And particularly for conventional transit, it's considered to be the most accessible and successful bus stop and shelter, and it's a destination in and of itself. So my question is this: will council at the public meeting make efforts to advertise it across a variety of media forums so that the public is fully aware? There are many of us who do not find internet and computers to be accessible. So will you broadcast across a variety of mediums? And will you further act to reach out and specifically invite us, the variety of interest group who have clients that dearly rely upon public transit, and have them present and able to contribute at the forum to hopefully educate council on the benefit of the terminal and a level of transit services, both conventional and specialized, that will actually work and be user-friendly to the people in this community.
Thank you for your question, and without a doubt, there'll be the full media release will go to all media outlets, as well as the usual notification on our website, and all media sources will receive that. Councillor Lemon.
Your Worship, I would request, because of the people who are here with an interest in the transit issue, that we bring forward that report this time. I think it would be most appropriate.
First, Councillor Lemon, I absolutely agree. I was going to suggest if you're satisfied at this time with the answer, we'll move along in the agenda, but I want to be sure that you have...
My next part to that question is, will public transit be provided for the people to come and go to that meeting?
That is something that I'll look to staff to determine, and I believe we've done that in the past. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't continue to do that, but...
I respectfully request that it be both conventional and specialized transit that's available to the public.
Mr. Ritchie.
Through your worship, we'll certainly inform the city manager, and I'm sure she'll make that request.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just to Councillor Lemon, I'm sure you'll support Councillor Lemon that we bring forward first the minutes of the Accessibility Advisory Committee, just given the fact that we do have the chair here, as well as recognizing the tremendous work that the committee has done on at the Accessibility Advisory Committee and the draft plan for accessibility for the City of Owen Sound for the next 4 to 5 years. Janice Curry and Dina, there's been a number of community members that have stepped up and volunteered to help the city create and develop this particular plan. You'll find it on page, it starts on page 80, and with Council's indulgence, we'll bring that forward for a bit of discussion, receipt, and I'll go to the Director of Community Services for next steps on what happens now that we have this draft plan. What are the next steps in terms of getting that implemented?
You mean the draft plan or the minutes?
The draft plan's part of the minutes. We will have a future, in the near future, we'll have a full presentation of this multi-year accessibility plan. And at this time, though, this is the draft that the committee has approved and is on Council's desk tonight for approval and receipt.
Thank you, Your Worship. The draft multi-year plan, the committee is, at the committee we talk about the 5 pillars of accessibility, and they're around customer service, information and communication, employment, transportation, and then the last one that isn't yet legislated, but the design of public spaces. The draft multi-year plan really provides a broad overview of the steps that the City of Owen Sound will take to supporting the Government of Ontario's goal toward making Ontario and Owen Sound accessible by 2025. So this multi-year plan sets out the city's strategies for identifying and addressing and preventing barriers that prevent persons with disabilities from fully participating in society. So the multi-year plan is still in a draft form. It's got a number of sections completed, but the transportation section is still being worked on. This plan was presented by a number of staff, and we had great discussion at the committee level on April 28th. In terms of next steps, we need to finish the transportation section. We have some refinements based on the input of the committee to make after the April 28th meeting. That plan will come back to committee, and then through the province of Ontario, they legislate that we consult with persons with disabilities and with the committee. So we'll be working with the committee on how that consultation happens regarding the draft multi-year plan. But it includes a statement of commitment and really is a really good overview of how the city will move forward to ensure that we're compliant with the integrated accessibility standards and the AODA as we move forward.
Thank you. Councillor Lemon.
Yes, Your Worship. In respect to the transportation portion of this plan that isn't there, there's also a requirement for a public meeting, a joint meeting between the police department, because they look after taxis, and the accessibility committee, as well as persons with disability. And that's a separate public meeting that's going to happen. And hopefully, in discussions that have gone on, that we can proceed with that, working with our police services, because the requirement in the Act specifies that there shall be consultation to the provision of accessible taxi cab service. And that actually was supposed to have been enforced the 1st of January of this year, I believe it was. And we've got to move that forward so that we do have a full service community for all our residents.
Thank you very much for the overview on that particular item, and for those members of council that have read it, it certainly has an enormous amount of information in it in terms of accessibility needs that the city has going forward, and how we get there. So to the committee who spent, I don't even know, hundreds, I would say, of hours working on it, congratulations and thank you for getting this information to council and moving it forward. Motion to approve the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Thank you, Councillor Lemon. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. And now, Councillor Lemon, you wanted council to go back to item 12B1, which is the notice of intent to declare the former transit building surplus. Councillor Lemon.
Yes, Your Worship. I don't want anyone to make it right now, but I would love a motion to table this until we get the regular transit system straightened out. And at this point, council does not know how much it will cost to have to build something 2 blocks away from the existing terminal, how much it will cost to operate it, and how much downtown parking will be lost. The average bus takes up at least 2 parking spaces, if not 2.5, and with a 4-route system, you're looking at 10 parking spaces. Then there has to be space for the kiosk or the shelters, because you're going to need more than one, and receptacles for waste and recycling, etc. So what we're being asked to do with this recommendation is to go ahead with something which we may discover may have been a mistake when we get the other costs, because no costing has been done, and there's a requirement under the ODA, the Ontarians with Disabilities Act, that before we can design any shelters like that, it has to go through the process of going to the Accessibility Committee, and that has not happened. So I think this report is premature.
Okay, further discussion, Councillor Body.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was actually going to make that motion to table this until we figure out what we're doing with the busing. Yeah, I am making it, thank you. For all the reasons that Councillor Lemon has just stated, we don't know what we're doing, and we've frankly flip-flopped around in this busing stuff for 2 years, and closed the terminal when we weren't ready to close it, and then reopened it, and then until we know what we're doing, can make a final decision, then this is premature. Let's figure it out first.
Well, there is something refreshing. Thank you.
Yes.
Councillor McManaman.
Sorry, Your Worship, have you recognized the motion to table?
I certainly have.
Oh, then
Is it to the tabling motion?
No, I was going to ask Mr. Furness to introduce his report so people know what we're speaking about.
We'll do a motion to table, takes precedence, and we'll vote on that at this time. So motion to table until, could we be a bit more specific for the clerk, Councillor Lemon, or Councillor Body? Or maybe
yeah, I thought, do we have to have a date, Madam Clerk? Do we have to have, I thought it would come back after we figure out what we're doing with the actual bus routes. And at that point, it would be more appropriate to know what we're doing with the bus terminal. Is that clear enough? Thank you.
Okay, to the tabling motion. All those in favor? Opposed? I too am in favor. That motion is carried. Thank you. Again, I want to recognize the unfortunate manner in which this entire transportation issue has rolled out over the last number of months. It has been not only embarrassing for council, it's been embarrassing for staff, and it's been very unfortunate for people who are using the transit system. There certainly was no intention whatsoever on behalf of this council to create the uncertainty that was created. I think that it's important that council move forward and drive some certainty into the system. It may not be what everyone is looking for at the end of the day, and I can pretty much promise that, but what I can tell you is it will be a usable, workable system, and it'll be here for, at the very least, the next 7 years. It won't be perfect. It will not be perfect, but it will be what Owen Sound can afford and what provides service for those people who need it most. So, thank you. We have a correspondence consent agenda item, actually. 12A, numbers 1 through 8. Councillor Lemon. Oh, Councillor Body?
It's just going to go ahead and move the consent agenda item, which includes signage for Snowmobile Club.
Yep.
The contract with the senior and junior lacrosse team, comments on planning and zoning, and our council action tracking plan update covering the period from 2010 to 2014.
Thank you. Any questions on any of the items within the consent agenda, please? Councillor McMahon. The man. It's a little
Thank you.
hyphenated name I gave you.
You're stuttering, Your Worship.
McMahon.
Just, I had a number of questions about the tracking sheets, and I do appreciate those coming forward to the clerk. They're very helpful to keep us on track, I suppose. The first one in 2012, we asked for a report from the police services on the Highway Traffic Act, having municipal bylaws and how you could regulate them in violations of the Traffic Act. And that hasn't come forward since, and that was 2012. And it was actually, I believe, the chief raised the issue. So I'm just wondering how we can move that. And again, maybe it's not possible, but it's been on this sheet for a while. So could
Just probably referring that back as an action item to the bylaw committee. This is in the discussion around the POA and...
well, I think it was the chief raised that there might be ways in other municipalities they regulate Highway Traffic Act violations with municipal bylaws, and then the provincial offences court gets involved.
Right.
So could it be referred back to the, I don't know, can we do that to the police chief for a report back?
No, it's best that it be with the bylaw committee, because it will be the bylaws belong to council, the bylaws belong to the city, and it would be up to bylaw committee to create bylaws that would mirror or complement those that you're referring to in the HTA.
If that's the way I
Just in order, I'm helping you to make sure that it gets moved forward.
right. If we could,
Yeah.
I guess, ask the police chief to report to the bylaw committee, I think we can do that.
Sure.
So that was my first item. I don't know if, is that do I need to make a motion on that, or?
I'll
up
take
to the
that
clerk?
under advisement and certainly bring it forward at police board, and the chair of bylaw committee is right around the table from you, and he's nodding his head.
Okay, thank you. Second one was from 2013, and I'm just wondering, the Parks and Rec Committee had asked that the Emerald Ash Borer plan be the update to that plan be brought to council. That was earlier this year, and I just want to make sure that's still on the agenda because it's an important item. And I'm seeing an agreement from the director that that'll be coming forward. Good, thank you. The third one was, again, in 2013, it says the city manager has completed the report of the operations review, and I just want to make sure, but it's pending, I believe was the word. I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to come off the action item sheet because it's still on hold pending. So.
They are.
And I realize the city manager's not here perhaps to answer that
Right.
question, so if that could be just.
Sure.
It's not going to be after tonight removed because it says it's completed. We still haven't received it yet. And I'm not expecting an answer from anyone there because, again, I realize city manager's not here,
Sure,
so.
okay.
Fourth one, I've only got 5, thank you, was it talks about from the Finance Committee that we did amended our RFP to the transit consultant to discuss AODA. The 2 meetings, I think I've attended every meeting with that consultant, and both times he's been specifically scoped to deal with specific issues, and he has not ever, to my knowledge anyway, at the committee level, raised the AODA or that he was doing anything with that. This motion looks like that consultant is doing something with it, so could I get clarification back from whomever would give clarification on that this consultant is in fact, we just discussed the city plan, is this the consultant that is doing our AODA compliance for transit? That's my question. And
Through your worship, we'll confirm that with the city manager and report back directly at next meeting.
Great, thank you. And the last one to the Director of Community Services, it talks about the Harrison Park Pool and the Y MOU being finalized. And I'm wondering if it would be appropriate, we obviously want that program to go well. We want our summer programs to go well. If there could be a deputation perhaps on our summer programs to get the word out more, because one of the concerns we had with those programs were the low enrollment in past years. At the very least, we could boost it up ourselves at a future meeting before, well, probably it would need to be very soon since school's almost out. So, and that was it. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Lemon?
Yeah, in 2013, and I'm going on memory, we were going to get rid of that old reservoir on 8th Street on the south side, which we are not using anymore. And that was in the
I believe that's the next report, Councillor,
oh, I missed that. Oh, sorry.
which is potential residential development.
Yeah, well, I thought we were going to get something a while ago on that, but.
Further questions on that? Okay, so, moving right along. Yes. What? What are we voting on right now? The consent agenda. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. We have dealt with 12B1. 12B2. This is a notice of intent to declare the 8th Street East former water reservoir lands surplus, and it's a very comprehensive report, and I think there may be a good news story at the end of this. Councillor Adair.
Move the recommendation to direct staff to prepare the intent to dispose of that land. Go to a public meeting on June 9th.
Very good. Discussion. Councillor McManaman.
Thank you, Worship. It doesn't specifically state in the recommendations, and I'm not entirely clear on our what our notion of intent to declare surplus. Do we inform the neighbors? That was my question. I know with planning notices, there's a provision to inform neighbors.
Doesn't see, there we go. Sorry. Your Worship, members of council, my understanding is that you do not have to give direct notice to neighbors, but you do post it on the property. That's something we could try and do if we wanted to, make sure they're all aware of it. But I don't believe that's specifically stated in there.
If I might, to the mover of the motion, I think it's a courtesy. We do it with just about every other notice and I think, you know, the same notice we give for planning, I think, should apply here. That would be my opinion. So.
There is a requirement, you know, should the property be purchased, the purchaser then has the responsibility to go through the regular planning process, which would include the public notifications to allow members of the public and encourage members of the public to discuss the projected use of the lands. This particular decision is is simply to signal the intent to declare it surplus.
So I'd ask if the mover, if it's a friendly amendment, to include a notice to the neighbors.
I'm quite content with what we normally do in these instances, and I move the recommendation as it is here.
Councillor Lemon. I'll go right back to you.
I just have one question of clarification, and that is the laneway that's referred to. Does that have to be treated any differently than the reservoir lands because there's a laneway and there's a right of access?
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. There is actually, and part of the challenge with this property, when we looked at it, we surveyed it, there's actually 2 lanes. It looks like one, but part of the one lane is stopped up and closed, the other is not. So in terms of including it in terms of the total package, we would have to permanently stop up and close that part of the laneway. And then coming forward, if a purchaser or developer came forward, they would then go through a process of determining what internal roads they need. The development team had looked at the parcel and had decided we'd keep it as one parcel, including the lanes.
Okay, I didn't realize there were 2 lanes
Right.
there.
This, you will recall that this was former PUC property, and so.
Director of Community Services.
Just to clarify, Your Worship, the resolution asks council to not only give notice of council's intention to declare the property surplus, but to also give notice around the stop-up and closure of that laneway. So as Mr. Furness said, there is a laneway. The notice would include both items.
There we go. You know, when we had a planning question, we should have gone directly to planner, right? Thank you very much. Councillor Manner.
Thank you, Worship. That actually didn't answer the question, though. Will they receive, all the neighbors would receive a notice of that then?
No, what I'm saying
Right,
is
that's
that the notice, as Mr. Furness has outlined it in his report, posting, listing the property on the website, in the newspaper, a council agenda and a press release would include both items, the declaring it or the notice of intention to declare it surplus, as well as the notice to stop up and close the laneway. So there would be, at this time, no direct notice to the abutting neighbors.
Certainly open to business.
Here, no, thank you, Your Worship, and I would be, I'm in support of the motion, and I'll be bringing a subsequent motion after that.
To the motion, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Councillor Manning.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd move that we provide a courtesy notice to the neighbors, similar to what we do with planning notices. Is it, and I ask the director, is it within a certain distance they receive a notice?
Normally, through Your Worship, it's a 120-meter buffer.
So within the same buffer as the planning notices, I would move that, Your Worship. I don't know why we wouldn't inform the neighbors that we want to sell this property. It's been open to the public for, well, Councillor Lemon could probably tell me how long it's been.
I don't know that we notified the public when we were listing the old courthouse as surplus, so it is a little unusual. Councillor Lemon.
Well, 120 meters, that's 360 feet. I can see there may be some merit in the adjacent property owners, the property owners that touch the property. I think they have a greater interest, but somebody across the road, there'll be a sign up.
To the motion, Councillor Schwab, Councillor Adair.
Just to clarify, there's no statutory obligation to notify anybody specifically beyond the required notices. However, there are many examples in the past where we have provided courtesy notices, and if you take a look at the map, there's a significant number of properties that surround it that may be affected. I have no difficulty in providing them with notice, even though it's not required. I think it's, as the motion says, it's a courtesy notice.
Councillor Adair and then Councillor Watt.
So I guess, is this going to be our policy from here on, or is this be one-offs, depending on how council feels about disposing of a particular property, because we have gone through how we are going to list properties for sale, and we've had quite a lot of input on that, and I'm just wondering, is the intent that from here on in, when we move to declare property surplus, that we will inform the neighbors? Or is this a shift in policy? That's all.
Councillor Body.
I'm going to ask Councillor McManaman for a clarification of what he's thinking. He hasn't really spelled it out. I know it's a toboggan park. It's places that we all learn to ski and recreation properties, and maybe, I don't know if that's what you're thinking, but if you want to explain to us what you're thinking, then it might help.
Certainly, Your Worship. Actually, I'd ask the clerk, I thought the disposal of land bylaw does include a part that talks about public notice, or notices to neighbors. Could you clarify it all on that? I don't recall last year we sold several properties and we gave notice to all the neighbors there.
Through you, Your Worship, our disposal of land bylaw does allow council to request mailing to specified persons, businesses, and organizations. There have been a few circumstances in the last few years. The Sowerby purchase of a lane and the Grey Bruce rental, I'm sorry, I can't think of the corporate name, but a corporate purchase of a lane on the west side. In those instances, we did do mailings to the property owners who abutted the property that we were considering selling. Both of those were lanes. I don't know if that changes the situation.
Thank you. So in answer to that's the first question, no, there's no change in policy. That is the policy.
It seems like.
It's up to council. Secondly, to Councillor Body, this has been a green space for, Councillor Lemon, can you, I wasn't actually kidding about that. Can you help, do you recall how long this has been a green space in this area?
Well, that's called the old reservoir. And it's been green, as far as I know, since the 50s. But the one thing is, of course, it's never been declared an open space for a park. It's not like we're closing a park. And I do know that people walk their dogs there. But on the other hand, it's no revenue at this point.
Well, and again, I voted for the motion. My point being, thank you to Councillor Lemon, if this has been a green space in that neighborhood for over 50 years, I think we owe it to those neighbors to inform them that the city's considering selling it. Again, I support, if we can turn this into a development, I support that. I think the neighbors should be informed of that, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Councillor McManaman. To the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. We have a report from Facilities Booking Coordinator with regards to Transcontinental Hockey Tournament in 2016. And this is a fairly large tournament that is planned to be in Owen Sound and in partnership with Transcontinental RBW Graphics. Councillor McManaman.
Thank you, Worship. I'd move the recommendation that we approve their request to host this tournament in our facilities, and I would note it talks about this tournament in 2016 at the beginning of April. Over quite a number of teams, hundreds of hotel rooms booked, restaurants, halls, that type of thing. And also note that it piggybacks on another event, the National Broomball Championships, which may be awarded here right after that for 2016. So, and the only reason both of these are able to come here is because we have the new rec center with the double ice pad. So not only more revenue, almost $12,000 in revenue for the city for just this event. I believe the Broomball Championships talked about $14,000 or similar number to that as revenue on top of the spin-off revenue for sports tourism. So I'd be happy to move this recommendation and congratulate RBW for receiving it.
Very good. All those, Councillor Lemon.
Well, I agree with everything that was said, but I'd also point out that RBW just happens also to be one of the largest private sector employee within our city and this immediate area by far. and they contribute greatly to the city's economy, and anything we can do to support RBW should be an absolute no-brainer. We should be doing it and doing it for the other reasons as well. So I think this is a win-win-win, and to quote former councillor Gary Levine.
There we go. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. We have a report from the engineering assistant. This is with regards to support for a fundraising event, Ride for Dad. This is a fundraiser for prostate cancer research. It's council's direction. Councillor Lemon.
I would move the recommendation because this is something very, very important, and it is a cancer that can be controlled, and so I think this is a wise move to support in any way we can.
All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. We have minutes of the Cultural Advisory Committee, Economic Development, Recreation and Parks. That's council's direction. Councillor Adair.
Move the approval of the 3 minutes. Motion.
Thank you. Discussion on any of these items. Councillor Body.
Thank you, Worship. Everyone will note that the under Economic Development Tourism, we've got our terms of reference, our work plan. The work plan is something that has been worked on for just about 2 years and has come together to really show what we're going to be focusing on in economic development and tourism over the next year, and where some of our money is being spent. Everyone will recall that we added, I think, $15,000 on top of the budget at budget time to give it a push, and that shows up. I'm suggesting that we have Mr. Furness come back and do a presentation to us in the next meeting or the one following on this work plan, because it's awfully important where we're going to help promote our city as a place to live, place to work, attracting jobs, attracting people, and how we're doing it. It's I think if the public saw how hard we're working at this, they'd be impressed. So if we could have that, have a report back presented to us.
Absolutely. We'll look towards the end of June. The next couple of council meetings are they're going to be pretty huge agendas. So if council's amenable with that, Councillor Body.
I wouldn't want it to go too far into the summer when
No.
people quit paying attention, and
Yeah.
including some of us, perhaps.
Before the end of June should capture most of the conscious public. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yes, I'd just like to comment that when I was reading through the minutes from the Economic Development and the Recreation and Parks Group, the Recreation and Parks Group had a really full report on the importance of the harbor and the dredging, and I thought that it was also on the Economic Development that they wanted to make sure that they were up to speed on what was going on with that. So I just thought those two things needed to go together a little bit.
It's a very topic of much discussion. Any further discussion on the minutes of any of those committees? Anybody? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. We have no in-camera minutes. We have minutes from the in-camera meeting of the Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation. Council's direction. Councillor Lemon. Oops. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And other business. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yes, I was very fortunate to be part of the Healthy Communities Project, and the Grace Isle Conservation Authority did donate 15 trees to that conference as part of their staging of the center. But those trees were also, on behalf of all the speakers, donated to the city, and they arrived at the park right after the conference, and they are going to be planted in our different parks. So I just want to make sure that everyone realized that that was a very nice outcome from the Healthy Conference, Healthy Communities Conference. And the other one was that last Friday I had the pleasure of being you at the One World Festival, and I was more than delighted, and especially at noon when a bus pulled up and let out nearly 60 people from Markham who went directly into the art gallery and went down to see all of their artwork that was displayed in that display called The Visible Invisible. And then they went to Harrison Park for lunch. So it was, that was a little side event that I didn't know was going to happen within our One World Festival. There was a lot of very lovely things happened that day. And I would hope that most of the counselors, when we go, we've done it 4 years, and that by the time our 5th year is here, that they all would spend a little time at it.
Good stuff. It was a tremendous success from all reports that we all heard. So congratulations to all those who were involved in that. Councillor Lemon.
Thank you, Your Worship. We recently had a meeting, joint meeting of operations and the Accessibility Committee. And one of the controversial questions at that meeting was the buses and who makes the decision. And there, I think, was some misinformation given, because in the contract we have with First Student, it says, it refers to authorized vehicles, means a transit vehicle proposed by the operator to the city, but only those which are approved by the city pursuant to section 415. So the final say on the transit vehicles is with the city of Owen Sound, and that's very clear in the contract. But when I was looking at the contract, there were a couple of other things that are not at this time being done, and I think we've got to enforce that they are. And that is, only vehicles approved by the city can be used as substitute vehicles when vehicles break down. Last week we had 3 breakdowns, or 4, plus a specialized transit vehicle, and they whipped in a school bus. That doesn't cut it, and in the contract it says very specifically that we must approve the bus, the specialized buses that are used, and we haven't been doing this. And my question, first of all, I think that now that we brought it up, that if it can be looked after by the city manager, because those buses should be approved, and it's in the contract that was signed by both parties. And it says in section 513, have available and immediate supply of, at the operator's expense, sufficient standby vehicles of a type and condition approved by the city to provide and maintain regular service in the event that one or more of the vehicles in the fleet has been out of service. And at one point, I think we almost had 3 buses out of service. So this needs to be addressed because we're losing riders. One of the reasons our revenue is down 15% from a year ago, I believe, is fundamentally people will not take those buses because of the steep stairs, and we're not currently getting compliance from the operator.
Thank you very much for bringing those points forward, and I have to certainly say that when a decision is made on new buses, pretty much that entire issue will go away, because there won't be the breakdowns. So the sooner the committees and council decides on the type of vehicles, the sooner we will not be faced with worrying about breakdown vehicles and replacements. So I think council made a pretty clear statement tonight to get on with it.
Well, Your Worship, just the one point, that depending on what type of bus we decide to order, we could be quite a while before we get it, and until then, there should be compliance with the contract, because that's estimated in the fee costs for that, and we're not getting the service, and there's a couple of other ones too.
Staff will make sure that the contractor is complying with the terms of our agreement, I'm sure. Thank you. Anything else, Councillor Lemon? Thank you.
No, that's it for tonight.
A couple of things. On June the 1st at 2 o'clock is the Veterans Commemoration Day at the Billy Bishop Museum. I'll invite members of council to join. There's a barbecue as well as stories and a new exhibit commemorating the 70th anniversary of D-Day and the Battle of Normandy. On June the 2nd, which is next Monday, an off Monday for council, Sandra Parks, our heritage planner, has coordinated a Marin Council Heritage Walking Tour. So it's an opportunity for council to and senior staff to actually participate in the new Heritage Walking Tour, and we'll be meeting here at 6 o'clock on the steps of City Hall, and I'd encourage members of the media to attend as well. I think it's a great opportunity for, I've got 6 o'clock, 6 till 7 p.m., I believe the clerk has in my calendar. Can we double check that? Thank you. Yes, no, that's good, because there are so many times and so many meetings that in my calendar it says 6, but let's be really sure on that. Next Monday evening. And also Doors Open is coming up in this weekend, this Friday and Saturday, and this Saturday and Sunday actually. And there are a number of sites open to the public. I sure expect that our facilities people have really cleaned up the city-owned facilities this year, and we're going to showcase them off in a proud manner. Also on June the 4th, I want to invite members of council that can attend at the Senior Center at 10 a.m. till 11:15. Just an opportunity to meet with some members of the Senior Center and hear what their thoughts are and what they have to say. And that is all she wrote at this time. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Did we find out the time yet on that walking tour?
Your Worship, the email I have says 5 p.m., but we will just confirm that, but it is 5 p.m.
I will go with 5 p.m. Judging by the precision with which Councillor McManaman does his big, thick daytimer, I think we'll go with the Director of Community Services and Councillor McManaman on this. So 5 p.m., right? 5 p.m. It involves a plank. There certainly will be a great opportunity for council to see that particular tour. So I look forward to that, and hopefully the right kind of weather to accompany us. Resolution adopting proceedings in Committee of the Whole, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Adair, that the action taken in Committee of the Whole in considering public meetings, deputations, public question period, matters arising from correspondence, reports, matters tabled, motions for which notice was previously given, and other business be confirmed by this council.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Resolution or new business, we don't have any notices of motion. New business by resolution. Bylaws, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Adair, that bylaw numbers 2014-082, 085, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, and 98 be passed and enacted.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. We are now adjourned. Thank you.